Fellow citizens, let me begin by saying that the coronavirus or the COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented global health crisis that has so far, as many of you know, manifested itself in over 184 countries and territories, and globally so far over 400,000 cases of the virus have been reported. Here in our country, Kenya, it has been 12 days since the first confirmed case of coronavirus. Our nation's response has been comprehensive, as it has been multifaceted, with the Ministry of Health leading the charge by announcing policy measures as well as behavioral protocols geared towards limiting the spread of this disease. These policy measures and behavioral protocols continue to dramatically change our way of life. Additionally, various state agencies as well as private sector entities have complemented our efforts by implementing further measures which we appreciate and also applaud. Fellow Kenyans, yesterday Kenya had 25 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, and today we have received confirmation of an additional 3 cases, bringing our national tally to 28 confirmed cases. At the same time, and amidst this trend, I am also pleased to announce that numerous other suspects or suspected cases have been found to be negative after rigorous testing. But more importantly, today we have registered our first patient who has fully recovered from this virus. This, fellow Kenyans, is a clear indication that we can and indeed will defeat this virus. Many more persons, both Kenyans and foreigners, remain under close monitoring, either under self-quarantine or compulsory quarantine measures taken to ensure the safety of all of people. I will assure you that as a government, both national level, evaluations designed to proactively seek out and test persons who may be carriers of this virus. I wish to assure you all we are continuing handling our testing, quarantine, day-to-day basis, supported by our development in international organizations. We are grateful to the many friends of Kenya across the globe, like Jack Ma, who yesterday donated to support us. We believe we will recover in the ongoing war. Fellow Kenyans, in recognition of the extraordinary nature of this global tragedy and its enormous local effects here in Kenya, and conscious of our solemn duty as a government to guarantee the enjoyment of social rights, our administration has made and will continue to make targeted state interventions to cushion every Kenyan from the shocks arising from this coronavirus. I do indeed recognize the anxiety that this pandemic has caused millions of Kenyan families across our nation. Many fearful of what the future may hold for them and their children, and the possibility of job losses and loss of income weighing heavily on the minds of millions of Kenyans. So in order to protect jobs for our people and to provide some certainty for both employers and their employees, I, as your President, do today order and direct as follows. First, that the National Treasury moves to Parliament to offer the following immediate reliefs: an increased disposable income to the people of Kenya through A 100% tax relief for persons earning a gross monthly income of up to Kenya shillings 24,000. A B, reduction of the income tax rate or pay as you earn from its current maximum of 30% to 25%. C, a reduction of resident income tax or corporation tax from 30% to 25%. A D, a reduction of the turnover tax rate from the current 3% to 1% for all micro, small, and medium enterprises. E, the appropriation of an additional Kenya shillings 10 billion to the elderly, orphans, and other vulnerable members of our society through cash transfers by the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection to cushion them from the adverse economic effects of COVID-19. F, the temporary suspension of the listing with the Credit Referencing Bureau, or the CRB, of any person, micro, small or medium enterprise, as well as corporate entities whose loan account fall due or is in arrears effective 1st of April 2020. Number 2, that the National Treasury shall cause the immediate reduction of the VAT rate from 16% to 14% effective the 1st of April 2020. 3, that all ministries and departments shall cause the payment of at least Kenya shillings 13 billion of the verified pending bills within 3 weeks from the date hereof. Similarly, and to improve liquidity in the economy and ensure businesses remain afloat by enhancing their cash flows. And we also, in the same breath, encourage the private sector to clear all outstanding payments amongst themselves within the same 3-week period. And 4, that the Kenya Revenue Authority shall expedite the payment of all verified VAT refund claims amounting to some Kenya shillings 10 billion within 3 weeks, or in the alternative, allow for the offsetting of withholding VAT in order to improve cash flows for businesses. And 5, as I said last week, that Kenya shillings 1 billion from the Universal Health Coverage Kitty be immediately appropriated strictly towards the recruitment of additional health workers to support in the management of the spread of COVID-19. In that regard, I further direct the Ministry of Health, the county governments, the Public Service Commission to expedite this recruitment process. Fellow Kenyans, in sharing the burden occasioned by the present global health pandemic over the duration of the global crisis and commencing immediately, my administration has offered a voluntary reduction in salaries of the senior ranks of the National Executive as follows. The President and Deputy President, 80%. Cabinet Secretaries, 30%. Chief Administrative Secretaries, 30%. Principal Secretaries, a reduction of 20%. I call on the other arms of government and tiers of government to join us in this national endeavor by making similar voluntary reductions, which will free up monies to combat this pandemic. Further to the guidelines issued encouraging state agencies to establish and implement frameworks for staff to work from home, I also today hereby direct and order that all state and public officers with pre-existing medical conditions and or aged 50 years of age and above, serving in job group S and below, or their equivalents, to take leave or forthwith work from home. This order excludes personnel in the security sector and other essential services, as shall be outlined in the circular that has been issued to the public service on the 16th of March 2020. Fellow Kenyans, the Central Bank of the Republic of Kenya has additionally rolled out the measures. That is, the interest rate to their borrowers, availing the much needed and affordable credit to all our business men and women. They have also lowered the cash reserve ratio, the CRR, to 4.25% from the current 5.25%, and this move should provide additional liquidity to the tune of Kenya shillings 35 billion to commercial banks, and this should directly support borrowers that are distressed as a result of the economic effects of this virus. Furthermore, the Central Bank of Kenya shall provide flexibility to banks with regard to requirements for loan classification and provisioning for loans that were performing as at March 2nd, 2020, and whose repayment period was extended or restructured due to this pandemic. I have also reorganized the ordinary calendar of Cabinet and its committees, as well as key state agencies, so as to apply a whole-of-government approach to the COVID-19 pandemic and to foster enhanced responses to the same. So the weekly meeting that is chaired by Minister Matiang'i will now be meeting twice weekly and focusing itself primarily on the impact of this virus. We have further introduced close coordination and collaboration with the county governments, in addition to the establishment of sectoral working groups to more effectively and expeditiously implement various action points. Fellow Kenyans, I'm sure you will join me as we, together on behalf of a grateful nation, extend our heartfelt and eternal gratitude to our medical professionals and health workers for the exemplary work that is the backbone of our continued success in limiting COVID-19 within our borders. I also at this time wish to recognize and thank Kenyans serving in critical and essential services for their excellent efforts, which have ensured the continuity of our supply chains and the provision of critical and essential services. So, fellow Kenyans, in order for us together to honor the hard work of these men and women and the sacrifice that they are making on our combined behalf, I believe it is incumbent on every Kenyan to support the efforts of our medical professionals, our health workers, our critical and essential service providers, and the government by a whole, by doing one simple step: reducing movement and congregation in large groups, as has been recommended by our Ministry of Health. But all the same, and to ensure that we continue to follow the procedures as laid out to all of us, the National Security Council of the Republic of Kenya has today sanctioned and caused the issuance of Public Order Number 1 on the coronavirus pandemic with the following key aspects. that effective Friday, 27th March 2020, there will be a daily curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning. And this shall be in effect in the territory of the Republic of Kenya, with all movement by persons not authorized to do so, or not being medical professionals, health workers, critical and essential service providers, being prohibited between these hours. The full list of critical and essential service providers shall be provided in more detail by the Ministry of Interior and National Coordination. Further, that with immediate effect, the management of the Kenya Ferry Service shall be vested in the National Police Service, the Coast Guard, and the National Government Administration Officers, NGAO, and all citizens shall be expected to obey and to follow the rules and procedures that shall be set out for crossing that ferry. Fellow Kenyans, social distancing, whether we like it or not, is now our new normal. It must be our new way of life until such time as we conquer this pandemic. I wish to once again reiterate that the most effective way to limit the spread of the virus is through basic changes in individual behavior and hygiene. I cannot but state with deep regret that we have recently experienced cases within our country where transmission was from our political and our religious leaders, who unfortunately failed to heed the guidance of the Ministry of Health on self-quarantine and social distancing. I therefore once more call on everyone to wash hands frequently, to use hand sanitizers and soap, water for at least 20 seconds, to cover our noses and mouth when coughing and sneezing with tissue or flexed elbow, to avoid close contact with anyone with cold or flu-like symptoms. These measures, fellow Kenyans, as simple as they may sound, will slow the spread and ease the effects of COVID-19 on our nation and allow our healthcare system and our first responders to most effectively deal with this pandemic. Fellow Kenyans, I want to reiterate that we have taken these basic measures to protect life, to protect the health of our citizens. If these measures are deemed to be inadequate, we shall, without hesitation, take even further and more drastic measures to ensure that the cardinal duty of the government and the state, which is the protection of life and property, is assured. So I make this appeal to you once again. Let us adhere to the rules and protocols that have been given to us by the relevant department, which in this case is the Ministry of Health. Let us work together to prevent the spread of this virus. Let us work together to protect life in Kenya. These additional measures have been taken as a clear result of Kenyans failing to heed to advice. Let us not find ourselves being forced to take even sterner action. My fellow Kenyans, our nation has always overcome and emerged from seemingly insurmountable challenges, and it has always come out stronger and better. And I believe in this case we shall do so again. Defeating this pandemic demands cooperation, collaboration, and common action. More than that, fellow Kenyans, it calls for our unity, our shared understanding, our strict adherence to the protocols issued by the Ministry of Health and all other relevant agencies, and the adoption by every person of measures that will help contain the spread of this virus. Every time, my brothers and sisters, that we have been faced with adversity as a people, we have always coalesced together. We have always pulled each other out of dire situations. I do believe that our nation shall prevail, and the aspirations of our destiny shall stand the test of time. Together, we shall be victorious. We can win this battle. We can and we shall defeat the coronavirus pandemic. That is the conclusion of my statement. We shall, as I have said from time to time, continue giving updates on further actions that government intends to take. And of course, the Ministry of Health shall, on a daily basis, continue to give you up-to-date information of where we stand and actions that we need to take to protect the health and well-being of our nation. May God bless each and every one of you. May God bless the Republic of Kenya. I thank you all for your attention. Asanteni sana.